Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In here, I'm gonna explain material cross culture understanding, which is intercultural communication. Communication has always been an important need of all societies. Since the time of our cave dweller ancestor, people have been communicating in different ways. Nevertheless, through picture and cave walls. American Indians communicate using drumbeat and smoke. In wars, soldiers use dove to communicate top secret. Letters and telephone were the next step in communication. Finally, in the present century, most of communication process is done through the internet. Communication can be defined as the exchange of meaning. This involves the sending and the receiving of information between a sender and a receiver. This happens not only through the use of words, but also through non-verbal factors such as gesture and facial expression. The message received can be very different from the message we send. The common model for communication is shown in these features. 1. Source. The source is the person with an idea he or she desires to communicate. 2. Encoding. Encoding, unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, humans are not able to share thought directly. Your communication is in the form of a symbol representing the idea you desire to communicate. Encoding is the process of putting an idea into a symbol. The symbol into which you encode your thought vary. You can encode your thought into words, and you can also encode thought into non-spoken symbol. 3. Message. The term message identifies the encoded thought. Encoding is the process. The verb, the message is the resulting object. 4. Channel. The term channel is used technically to refer the means by which the encoded message is transmitted. Today it is called media. 5. Noise. The term noise technically refers to anything that distorts the message the source encodes. Noise can be of many forms. External noise can be sight, sound, and the other stimuli that draw your attention away from the message. Internal noise refers to your thought and the feelings that can interfere with message. Semantic noise refers to how alternative meanings of the source symbols can be distracting. 7. Receiver. Receiver is the person who attends to the message. Receivers may be intentionally, that is, they may be the people the resource desire to communicate with, or they may be any person who comes upon and attends to the message. 8. Decoding. Decoding is the opposite process of encoding and just as much an active process. The receiver is actively involved in the communication process by assigning meaning to the symbols received. 9. Receiver response. It refers to anything the receiver does after attending to and decode the message. That response can range from doing nothing to talking to taking action or actions that may or may not be the action desired by the source. 10. Feedback. It refers to that portion of the receiver response of which the source has knowledge and to which the source attends and assigning meaning. 11. Context. Generally, context can be defined as the environment in which communication takes place and which help define the communication If you know the physical context, you can predict with a high degree of accuracy much of the communication. A. Barriers to intercultural communication. 1. Attitude. A. Globalization means that there is now one business culture everywhere in the world. B. When in Indonesia, do as the Indonesian do. And the comments is A. People do share certain beliefs and values, especially business people. However, it is misleading to believe that they are always stronger than other types of culture. One of the examples, Western franchise brands such as KFC, which try to standardize its product, has to adapt to local tastes. The pressure of globalization can also lead to the strengthening of local identity. The idea that people from different cultures can be fused together is at the heart of the concept of the melting pot. B. This is commonly used phrase and is useful in that it stresses the importance of considering the culture of the host. In practice, culture is so deeply rooted that it is not possible to change one's original culture and take on a new one. 2. Perception. The fact that people perceive the same thing in different ways is particularly important in intercultural communication. The way we perceive is culturally determined, and the general lack of awareness of this another barrier of intercultural communication. 3. Stereotypes. A stereotype is a fixed idea or image that many people have a particular type of person, thing, or even, but sometimes it is not true in reality. Generalization and cross-cultural understanding. 15 categories are necessary, but when they are too rigid, they can be a barrier to the effective interpretation of a situation. In intercultural communication, it is vital to distinguish between what is part of the person's cultural background and what is part of their personality. 4. Interpretation. What is the problem in this situation? A. Japanese businessman is negotiating with an Australian partner, Chan. The deal will be very difficult. Andrew. Well, what can I help to solve the problem? Chan. This is the case of misinterpretation in which two people have interpreted the same statement in completely different ways for the Japanese Chan. The message was quite clear for him. The statement that it would be very difficult means there would be no deal. He expressed this indirectly to be polite and to avoid loss of face. The Australian, not being aware of this, thought that there were some problems that could be resolved. Gadikans in Gibson 2000 suggests 3 ways of checking our interpretation of other people's behavior. 1. Perception checking. The aim of perception checking is to ensure that our interpretation of the other person's behavior is what he or she means it to be. 2. Listening effectively. It is important to distinguish between hearing, the physical process, and listening, which is involve much more attention and includes absorbing new information, checking it, and with what you already know, categorizing it, selecting ideas, and predicting what is coming next. Active listening involves showing the speaker that we are involved in the conversation, trying to understand them better by asking questions, for instance, or restarting what they have said. 3. Giving feedback. This is the verbal or non-verbal response to the others. Again, The way feedback is given vary widely across culture, but it is often useful to follow the following guidelines. Be specific, spare the feedback from the person. Present the problem as a mutual one, mix a negative with positive feedback, provide feedback at an appropriate time use. 5. 5. Culture shock. Culture shock is precipitated by the anxiety that results from losing all our familiar signs and symbols of social intercourse. These signs are cues include the 1001 ways in which we orient ourselves to the situation of daily life. Further discussion about culture shock will be in the next chapter. 6. Nonverbal behavior. While language is the primary means of communication, nonverbal behavior also communicates. Nonverbal patterns include gesture, facial experience, eye contact, body movement, touching, and the use of space and time. P. Cultural learning. The process of cultural learning can be helped along by experience, reflection, and training. Intercultural training not only provides information but also develops skills and encourages attitudes to enable people to progress along the cultural learning curve. C. Dealing with the difference. Based on the research marks in Gibson 2000 and lists in order of priority what personnel manager in German companies look for in international manager. 1. Social competence. 2. Openness to other ways of thinking. 3. Cultural adaptation. 4. Professional excellence. 5. Language skill. 6. Flexibility. 7. Ability to manage or work in a team. 8. Adaptability of the family. Patience. 10. Sensitively note that on the list professional excellence doesn't come at the top of the list. If technical skills is the only criterion for working aboard, the result will be rarely successful. Where aggression, speed, and competitiveness may be important in monocultural environment, they could be dangerous if an intercultural one, where qualities and such adaptability and high tolerance for ambiguity and more important. D. Improving intercultural communication. It is essential that people research the cultures and communication conventions of those whom they propose to meet. This will minimize the risks of making the elementary mistakes. It is also prudent to set a clear agenda so that everyone understands the nature and purpose of the interaction. In interaction with people from foreign culture, a person who is interculturally competent understands the culture-specific concept of perception, thinking, feeling, and acting. The basic requirements for intercultural competence are: 1. Break the assumption. Everyone makes or has assumptions about others. Assumptions are beliefs rather than objective truth and are usually influenced by a number of subjective factors. For intercultural communication to truly work, people need to assess their assumptions and ask themselves why they hold those ideas or beliefs. By doing so and even openly examining them with the others, the initial barriers to intercultural communication is overcome. 2. Empathy. In order to come to appreciate and understand people from different cultures, empathy is vital. Through putting yourself in someone else's shoes, you come to see or appreciate their point of view. 3. Involve. Involving others in tasks or decision making empowers and builds strong relationship. Using intercultural diversity is in essence a more creative approach to problem solving as it incorporates different point of view. 4. Discourage herd mentality. Herd mentality refers to a closed and one-dimensional approach. Such a way of thinking curbs creativity, innovation, and advancement as a people are restricted in how to think, approach, and engage with people or challenge. Intercultural communication can only flourish and therefore contribute if people are encouraged to think as individuals, bring their cultural influence to the table, and share the idea that may be outside the box. 5. Avoid insensitive behavior. People can and do behave in culturally insensitive ways. By attacking someone person, you attack their culture and therefore their dignity. This can only be divisive. Effective communication depends on the informal understanding among the parties involved that are based on the trust developed between them. When trust exists, there is implicit understanding within communication. Cultural difference may be overlooked, and problems can be dealt with more easily. The meaning of trust and how it is developed and communicated vary across societies. Similarly, some cultures have a greater propensity to be trusting than others. That's all can I explain. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.